Hey everyone, welcome to the Wicked Ones podcast. This is Jen.
And this is Tara. And we are going to be continuing our neighbor theme this week, right?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, can't wait to hear your story. But first, what's been going on? I haven't seen you in a week.
We've had a little action. Julia broke her arm in the gym.
Yeah, poor kid.
So we had that. Canyon ripped off his dew claw, so Julia got a cast and Canyon got an emergency vet visit in the same day. But I think we're on the mend now, and then I worked and I was on call all weekend, so everything's kind of a blur the last 5 days, just all blend together.
Just gonna say, it's probably just been, wait, what day is it?
Yeah.
What's happening?
That's a lot. Up, today, and I couldn't remember what day it was, where I was supposed to be. It was very confusing. I think I'm okay now.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like you've definitely had a lot going on. We have not had that much excitement.
We had family, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's true. My parents did come in. They visited for a little bit, which was nice. We've only seen them. I think this is the third time since March, since the lockdown kind of started.
Yeah.
It was really good to see them. The kids were so excited. So
it's always nice when they're in town. I'm sad I didn't get to see them.
Yeah, I know. They said hi. They missed you guys too.
I know. I usually see them every time they come in. Next time, hopefully.
I know, but you were on call, darn it, and you missed tacos.
Oh.
I tried to save you some. I bought 10 pounds of arachara, and we had that much left.
Yeah.
Maybe for one taco, and my mom put it in with the leftovers and stuff, and I don't even know. I have 5 pounds of beans left and rice and no meat.
Ava's not eating the beans or double beans?
No double beans. I should have given them to my dad to take
home. You should have.
He would have loved it. So, but instead, that's okay. They'll go to waste, or I don't know. There's not much I can make with leftover beans. No, I think those are just gonna have to go.
You can check Pinterest, but I can't remember anything.
Everybody were having chocolate bean pie.
Oh gosh, that's so nasty.
I just made it up. Well, okay, on that note, let's hear your neighbor story this week.
Okay, so today I'm going to tell you a story of 3 neighbors out of Nunica, Michigan. And first I'm going to tell you my resources.
Okay.
My sources. DetroitNews.com, WoodTV.com, MLive.com, and www.mt.com. So all local news sources for Michigan.
Gotcha. That's what I was going to say.
And after the fact, after I did my research, I found out there was an ID special on Fear Thy Neighbor, which we made movie night.
With the kids.
With the girls. Well, me and the girls. Anyways, Steve, when I found out that it was an ID special, and of course, because I don't know how to work the TV, because every month we have a different streaming network or whatever it is.
Oh.
I don't know how to work anything. Now we have Hulu, so he found it, and as he found it, then I couldn't help but to click it on for a second, and then the girls were supposed to be getting ready for bed, and they asked to watch it, so we all crawled in my bed and learned about
murder.
The 3 neighbors.
Yes. It was a bonding experience.
It was.
By the way, is this the TV you melted?
No, this was the one upstairs in our room.
Note to all you out there, do not burn those lovely fall candles under your television set.
It will throw your husband into a tizzy.
That was hilarious.
So this is about 3 neighbors, and they all live out in the country. And since they are in the country, they share an easement or a private drive. We've all seen those where there's kind of a long private drive off of a country road that has a few different houses on it.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's a couple around here that have a very similar setup, even though we're not so far out in the country. So the farthest, there's 3 houses, and they're all on the same side of the street, the same side of the drive.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
It does, and I'm glad you clarified, because I was thinking of a tree.
Like a cul-de-sac almost, right?
Yes.
You pull in and it's like a little circle.
Mm-hmm.
This is just one drive.
Okay.
And all 3 houses are off the same side driveway.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
I can see it.
And then, so if you drove all the way in, that was Sheila Bungee's house. And she moved there in 2005. She had a small 1-story home with a 1-acre lot. And it was said that she owned this home with her boyfriend, fiance, who was a truck driver. But he was a long-haul truck driver, so no one really ever saw him.
Okay.
And Sheila worked as a nursing home aide until a personal medical concern stopped her from doing that.
Hmm.
I couldn't find exactly what those medical reasons
Yeah.
were, but it sounded like she was home a lot. She was
Okay.
around her house a lot.
Gotcha.
The second house, or the middle house, was Rhonda Clark and Wendell Popejoy, and also Rhonda's daughter, Megan Clark. So they were long term boyfriend and girlfriend. They weren't married.
Okay.
And they moved in about 2009. And they liked the area because it was the close proximity to the Grand Rapids.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know that
And it's
area.
like
Hmm.
25-30 minutes from there, I guess. And Wendell, who was a former Air Force mechanic, he fixed anesthesia equipment at one of the health facilities in
Oh,
Grand
that's kind
Rapids.
of a cool niche.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So he liked that he could be out in the country and still have,
Hmm.
a job that was kind of in the city.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the dream, right? Just to be able
Yeah.
to have your own little area, but within driving distance of some amazing job that you're still
Yeah,
tucked
it's hard to
away.
live in the country without a
Yeah,
long commute to some bigger city for
I know.
a substantial job. So Sheila, Rhonda, and Wendell, they were all friends. They all enjoyed the country life and the privacy. Sheila especially loved her property. So she just prided herself, I think, with her not working.
Hmm.
She prided herself on this lot that she had. And she was at the end of the driveway. Okay, like I said, and all three houses were on one side. So if you drove to the dead end, that
Okay.
area was she made kind of like a little section for her family. So she had a fire
Okay.
pit there, a swing set, a flagpole, and she
Almost like
always
straight up the driveway.
straight up the driveway.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. Yeah.
right. So like you would like drive right into it. So it
Hmm.
was like part of the easement. It wasn't necessarily like in front of her house, but kind of
But it was close enough to her house because she was that
that
last house.
right. So it was
Right.
kind of like fit into her front
Hmm.
yard a little bit, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. If
And
you
no
could
kids, right? There's no kids in these houses.
just there was Rhonda's daughter Megan or Morgan,
Okay.
but she was a teenager,
She was
so she
older,
was not
right?
like outside
Okay.
playing. But Sheila did have grandkids that came over to play on the swing set and stuff.
Okay.
So she also declared herself keeper of the driveway. So she just loved tinkering around the
There's a
driveway.
title.
I know,
Keeper of the
right?
driveway.
I could use a keeper of the driveway around here.
Hmm.
And so she did all the maintenance and the snow blowing on the driveway. So it was a private driveway, so it had to have like little patches fixed, with
Hmm.
the blacktop and stuff. So
Yeah.
she kept it.
That's
That
kind
was
of
like,
nice, though. Really?
yeah. I mean, she did it.
Yeah.
She did it, took it upon herself, and everyone, Rhonda and Wendell appreciated it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
So new neighbors moved in 2012. So they were going to be in the first house as you pulled in. So
Okay.
this is Mark and Beth Moyer, and they bought the acres. They bought their house, so the first house as you pull in, but then also the acres around Wendell and Sheila's lots, if
Okay.
that makes sense. So like they own the front house as you pull into the driveway, but then also all of the land around the acre that Wendell and Sheila own and their property.
Okay. It's like
So
a
it's kind of
weird
a weird,
plat of survey on that one, but
very weird.
yeah.
So that was, they actually had a little bit of, they're a little hesitant because the property lines were so strange that it wrapped kind of around those two houses, but they decided to move forward and make the purchase anyways. So one final picture, as you pull in, you're gonna hit Mark and Beth's house first.
Okay.
Then it's Wendell and Rhonda, and then the last house is Sheila.
Okay. I can see
Okay.
it.
And then it kind of dead ends, and then that dead end is where Sheila. That's like an easement area,
Hmm.
and that's where Sheila's kind of set up shop. Per
Her
se.
little outdoor area that she.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Um,
Gotcha.
so things were very peaceful. Everyone was enjoying the country life. Occasionally, people were put off by Rhonda and what her family called a varmint gun.
Oh.
I guess she used this gun to scare away the ducks and the raccoons that would steal her eggs.
Okay.
I assume that's popular when you live in the country. I don't
Maybe.
know. I'll have to ask my brother about that one. He should know. But so she had this occasionally, everyone would be all outside and quiet and peaceful, and you would hear the gun go off, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's just Rhonda and her varmint gun."
Oh my gosh. That's actually kind of funny.
Yeah, right. It's kind of comical. Someone could be a cartoon.
Michiganians, what are they doing up there?
SNL episode or something. You're enjoying your sweet tea out on the porch, and then all of a sudden someone runs by with a varmint gun.
Right.
I don't know. But it wouldn't take long before the peaceful country living turned into a living hell. Shortly after moving in, Mark and Beth began marking out lines on the easement for a fence.
Ooh.
These markings extended into the area of easement occupied by Sheila's belongings. So, where Sheila set up her swing set for her grandkids and all of this area, their markings for their fence like goes right through that stuff. And they don't tell Sheila what they're doing. She just discovers them out there like marking the property.
Like spray painting down the middle of the
Yes.
swing set.
Yes,
It's like
exactly.
blue spray paint.
Just out there, just...
Yeah. Ooh. That's not super friendly.
No. It sounds like they assumed Sheila knew, but she didn't. Or maybe she did and she just lived in denial. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But
Either way, I mean, that's probably not a fun way to find out.
no.
You know?
So she sees them doing this and confronts them, and she's genuinely confused in the beginning. Why are you doing this? Why are you like on my land? You can't put... What are you doing? You can't be marking my land. And Mark and Beth explained to her they have ownership of the land, and they inform Sheila that she needs to move the swing set a few bushes in her flagpole because they are putting up a fence for their cows.
All right then.
So, for lack of better terms, Sheila loses her shit. She freaks out. This has been her land for how many years? She owns it. She's not moving her stuff. They won't take her land from her. Mark and Beth are freaked out. I don't think they realize, like, little Sheila who lived by herself because her long haul fiance was never there, long haul trucker fiance. I don't think they expected it out of her. They decide that they are going to go, I don't know if you maybe call it the right route, and they get a land surveyor to come in to do the plat of survey to make it legal. Like, Sheila, we're not taking your land. This is what it is.
Yeah, get somebody official out there.
To mark all the property lines so she knows. So when the surveyor comes out, Sheila confronts him and thinks he's a fake and kicks him off her property.
Oh, fake surveyor.
Fake surveyor. They hired a fake surveyor. Because he didn't have anything on but a vest. But
hey, if you could have varmint guns in this area, you can probably wear your pajamas to survey.
And I'm thinking if it's a small area in the county, they probably just drive their regular car, and when they go out to do their job, they put on a vest, and this is what I'm doing.
Grab that orange vest and throw it over your pajamas.
Yes, and you go out and you mark the lines until Sheila comes out and kicks you off. Wendell and Rhonda are just trying to keep peace through all this. They don't want to get in the middle of it, and throughout this whole incident, that's pretty much what everyone says about Wendell. Like, he just tries to mind his own business and wants to keep peace. He always tries to stay out of it.
That'd be hard, though, living in between and...
Yeah, so Wendell and Rhonda are in between Sheila and Mark. And so, like, Mark and Beth have to walk past Wendell's house to get to this. So the idea is that, so the property driveway ends, and they want to extend that out to get to their... property,
their pasture and
behind. They want that to be like a way to get through to get to their cows, which makes sense. They bought it, they own it, but they have to go past everybody else to get to it. I don't know, it stresses me out when I hear about it. So the survey results come back, and the land does in fact belong to Mark and Beth, and they decide they're going to proceed as planned.
Yeah, well, that's what they bought there for, and that was their plan. So,
and they feel like this is kind of telling Sheila, like, I'm sorry, but this is the way it is, and it's correct, so we're going to continue with our plan.
Right.
Wendell and Rhonda hear the commotion during this confrontation. They go outside to check on it, and they find Sheila and Mark and Beth in a verbal dispute. Sheila's upset, obviously. She's still adamant that the land belongs to her. She won't give up. And Wendell at this point tells her, you know, Sheila, it is what it is. It's not your land. We need to move on.
Deal with it. Get over it. Let's move on with life. Yeah.
Well, this drives a huge wedge between the once friends Sheila, Wendell, and Rhonda. Sheila
She felt betrayed,
She
didn't
felt
she?
so betrayed by her friends. She felt like they were picking sides. They just wanted Sheila to let it go, and she felt like they should take her side. They should
Mhm.
stick up for her. They don't know them. They just moved in. So Rhonda and Wendell, they continue to live out between two feuding neighbors,
Mm.
and things do not get better. Otherwise, I wouldn't be telling you this story.
Right. Well, I know I'm expecting some crazy, but that would
It's
just be that'd just be an awful situation.
Yeah, there's just things that it just continues to escalate. So they asked Sheila to take her fence or her flagpole down, and she won't take her flagpole down. So Beth and Mark decide to take her flagpole down for her.
Oh, how'd that go?
Sheila's not going to handle that well. We know you don't know Sheila, and you can tell from this story.
No.
She's super pissed, and that's when things officially take a turn. Things just get hot and bothered
Mhm.
over there. So the encounters between Sheila and her neighbors at this time just grow more and more volatile. Every time they would come outside, she would call them names, she would taunt them. And so I came across these videos of her, and I don't really know how to describe them, but I think I know what she was getting at. So she would moon them, and then she would do some weird thing where she would smack her ass and like yell at them. And I think what her idea was is like, kiss my ass.
Right, right.
But it was like this weird like twerking motion as she would smack her ass. And she was not getting her point across.
No.
She was missing the mark.
I'm pretty sure I want to know who
But
videoed it and put it on YouTube.
mooning. I don't know how it got on
Maybe
YouTube.
maybe the
But
daughter, because the older generation just doesn't really understand
well, they
how to do
were
all that.
told by police at certain points
Mhm.
to videotape what was going on.
Ah,
But I
okay.
don't believe they would upload it to
No.
YouTube, considering the events that unfold. So somehow it made it to YouTube. And it's bad.
That's why you don't record anything.
She is at her wits' end in these videos.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mess with her.
So she's just like a raging lunatic,
Like
smacking her
spitting
ass
angry,
and
smacking her ass,
screaming.
mooning, yelling that she's gonna kill people. Yeah, it was bad. She was constantly flipping them off. So since she was at the far end of the private drive, she would like drive through their yards, like yelling out the window, flipping them off, and like throwing things at them.
So this is like a daily occurrence.
Oh yeah, she couldn't go past them without giving her 2 cents. It was living hell for these people.
Wow, how long did this go on? Did you say?
Years. I mean, so that started in like 3 years, 4 years.
I would consider moving for less. I'm just saying.
I think I did move for less, but so as this is all going on, Sheila's telling her daughter and her, there's her siblings about the problems with the new neighbors. She does tell them that they stole her new friends and turned them against her. So she's feeling ganged up on.
And I'm trying to picture this woman who maybe had some issues, which is why she was let go from her job, and this was her life. This was her, like you said, this was her pride. This is what she put all of her energy and time into.
And these people just came up and just uprooted everything she knew.
I mean, that would be upsetting if you're a normal person, but
if you don't have anything else.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So she starts journaling all of the events that are happening and the unfair treatment because she thinks it's going to be valuable in the future. In the meantime, Mark and Beth decide that they're going to file a civil suit against Sheila for harassment and property dispute. So they are suing to assert ownership of the driveway easement past Wendell and Rhonda and Sheila's residence. The exact area that Sheila claims to control. Gotcha. Like I said, they just want it as like a throwaway.
Right. And that makes sense, because I was going to say, well, it would solve a lot of issues if they just said, Sheila, keep your area that you have here and we'll just go around. But it sounds like that's where the road went.
Yeah.
So
this was it.
Yeah.
Okay. Wendell tried to keep peace through all this. Rhonda was very frustrated, and she bought one of those air horns like you take to a hockey game. And she would blow the horn anytime Sheila would come out and yell. And although I think Rhonda thought it was a deterrent, I imagine it only fueled Sheila because
Oh,
I'm not sure. Uh, Things got so bad that Wendell and Rhonda decided that they were going to join the fence brigade and they were going to put up a fence too
yeah.
to block
Okay.
Sheila out. So they said they just couldn't have any peace without her yelling and name calling them
Mhm.
all the time. It was exhausting. But now she's got two neighbors putting
Mhm.
up fences,
Yeah.
blocking her.
And I'm
She's,
listening. I keep picturing the air horn, and I picture the YouTube video with like an air horn, and then like the da da da
yeah.
da da, da, and then Sheila like twerking and smacking her ass in the background,
Oh,
and then
yeah. Yeah.
it's I gotta see this video.
It's, the
So
tensions still to continue to increase, if you can even believe this. But by fall, everyone is walking around with guns
what?
to get their mail, to take out the garbage. They just couldn't take it anymore. They claimed that Sheila would harass them anytime they even stepped foot outside. Like they'd open their door and Sheila would just be yep, 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 yelling, name calling. The cops were called and called and called by all three neighbors. All three houses would
I'm
call the
sure they
cops on
all knew them
each
well.
other. And I'll tell you a couple incidences because I could not imagine being these police officers arriving on the street. They probably like rock paper scissors
I
to
was just
decide
gonna say.
who had to go and deal with the
All right,
crazy.
low man
'Cause,
on the totem pole,
yeah,
you're up.
new guy,
Yep.
you got the street. Once incident, Sheila found a dead rabbit on her doorstep, and she believed that Rhonda put it there, like shot it there and put it there as a threat to her life.
Because she had the varmint gun.
Because she had the varmint. Who else
That
was
just
going to
makes
do it?
sense.
So she calls the police. She felt like she was being ganged up on and bullied. This is what she's telling the police. They examined the animal and they couldn't find any evidence that the animal was shot.
Okay.
So they are, Sheila, you live in the country.
It probably, poor Bunny was probably just crossing the porch, and then the air horn went off, and
He had a heart
and
attack.
a heart attack. He died.
So she's disgusted with the police. She takes the rabbit and she throws it at Rhonda on Wendell's porch.
Okay. Like
It's funny, but it's not. Like
right.
you can't help but to laugh at it because you can see
can
it
see
happening.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm imagining in
And
my mind.
what I just pictured the police officers
Ugh.
not knowing what to do. It's like a really bad SNL skit. Like, what
Yeah.
do you do?
I mean, you really can't. You can't make people get along, and until there's a crime, what are you gonna? There's nothing you can do.
Right. So the cops come again when Sheila claims Rhonda shot her 22 at her house. Rhonda denied it, and police checked the gun and somehow could tell the gun hadn't been shot recently. So I assume maybe there's no gun residue or
Probably.
whatever. And there's got to be a sophisticated way to check that. I should have looked that up, but I didn't. Winter comes. Rhonda was outside snow blowing. They live in Michigan, so all it does is snow and it's bitter cold.
Oh yeah.
I imagine that gets for crabby people.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't be for me, anyways. We live in Chicago, and
oh yeah, growing up in LaPorte, and we're not too far from the Michigan border, and it's all that lake effect snow, and it can get bad.
It's crazy.
Yeah, there were years we would be out of school for over a week, and it was emergency on the road for emergencies only. You weren't even really allowed to leave your home.
Exactly. So that's what I pictured this being as
Mm-hmm.
well. So Rhonda's outside, and she has this confrontation with Sheila about the fence while snow blowing. This has to be my favorite. So Sheila doesn't do anything, but she turns the snowblower chute towards Rhonda and covers her with snow.
Okay.
Now, is that not awesome?
It's
not
kind of
cool,
awesome.
but it's funny, right?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah.
That's just like a big F you.
Well, and
I just picture
Rhonda,
like the snow.
Couldn't you have? You must have been in a bad position that day.
Well, you had to see that coming.
You had to have.
So of course they called the cops. And then again, when they were snowblowing, supposedly Rhonda attacked Sheila's snowblower with her shovel. And then Wendell came outside and flashed Sheila. So
oh no, Wendell's getting in on this.
They had to come back again.
Couldn't
And
keep
then
quiet
Sheila
any
pulled down
longer.
her pants and smacked her ass with threats to kill their animals. So the cops had to come back. No, no. These poor police
Oh.
officers, because I picture it almost like siblings fighting, or where you just can't do anything but just be like, go to your room, go to your
Mhm.
houses, don't look at each other, leave each other alone. So at least 54 times the police were called to that street between 2014 and 2017.
That's insane.
54 times. Talk about abuse of law enforcement.
Mhm. Yeah.
I just. So I'm going to tell you a couple of things that the deputies said on various occasions in their notes about Sheila. They described her as seething with anger, extremely hostile, irrational, and hard to understand.
Mm.
And one even said, not sure if she remembers why she called 911, meaning that that was his observation.
Mhm.
She didn't say that. You know, and it's not like she was having like a mental breakdown and was like, I don't
Right.
know why I didn't call you. He just was like, I don't think she remembers why she called 911.
So she was just. It sounded like at any given time that anybody was doing anything, they were ready to just pick up the phone and get the police out there.
Yes, yes. And then they were getting more and more frustrated because another deputy had said that Sheila told him to fuck off and to get the fuck off my property.
Mm.
This behavior from Sheila is common during police contact. So it sounds like from here, he knew of her. He
Mhm.
obviously had been called there before and was used to this type of irrational behavior where unfortunately no one's going to listen to you if you're
Mm-mm.
yelling and screaming. And so at one point, all three parties filed for PPOs, the personal
Oh
protective
yeah.
orders.
Well, it makes sense.
All three of them. Just, you know what? Just stay the fuck away from each other. Leave each other
Yeah.
alone. What a waste of freaking the judicial system.
Oh, absolutely. No, I understand. No,
Pisses
I
me
get it.
off.
I get it.
But so during this whole, I don't think you can call it a trial, but during this whole process of where they're filing PPOs for one another against each other for themselves, whatever it is, there's video of Sheila claiming to have someone come over and kill Beth and Mark and everything on their property.
That's pretty heavy. I mean, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the judge denies them all and tells them, like, listen, I can't force you to be good neighbors to each other. I can't order you to be nice. I can't order you to be respectful. And that is not what the police are for.
No, no. Like you said, they have way better things to do with their
No,
time
just
than
stop it. We're not preschool
come out and
teachers.
smack you on the wrist.
Yeah. So no matter what, the police and the judges, they couldn't stop the neighbors. Things just continue to escalate. If you can believe it, they get worse.
Just keeps getting worse.
Right? Oh. So on Christmas Eve, and this is kind of a dig, Wendell, Rhonda, Beth, and Mark, they celebrate together. And Wendell and Rhonda are gifted subpoenas
Ah,
from Beth and Mark.
the gift that just keeps on giving.
So they are served subpoenas to testify in this civil suit that's going to be on January 9th of 2017. And they toast to what they think will be the end of their harassment
hmm
and the official ownership of their property so they can move on.
Okay. So they haven't actually put in the anything. She just.
There's not in that area. So the day after Christmas, December 26, 2017, there's a huge snowstorm. And Sheila, of course, keeper of the driveway,
Keep her of the driveway.
heads out to snowball. On December 28th, the police are called. And Sheila's daughter and a friend of Sheila can't find Sheila anywhere. So they came over to drop off some Christmas presents. They thought maybe she fell because it was so cold. Her car was still in the driveway, and they know that she's always out like tinkering around.
hmm
They thought maybe she fell, and they were worried because it was so cold that she would freeze to death. While they were inside, they found Sheila's purse, her keys, her car was there, and
Ah,
then
okay.
Her daughter came across her journal, which was on the table, and it specifically stated, "If anything ever happens to me, check my neighbor's yard."
Oh, specific. Yeah.
That's about as Blue's Clues as it gets. Oh, you were on that mark, Sheila. So police decide they're going to check the neighbors' yards, and you have to at that point. So they go to Mark and Beth first, and they search their pastures, and they come up with nothing. Then they go to Wendell and Rhonda's. Wendell says, like, "No way, get out of here. I'm done with Sheila and her nonsense."
Oh.
And it wasn't just a "not tonight, boys."
Mm-hmm.
It was a "F off, get out of here. We're not."
And this is Wendell doesn't come up a lot in the stories.
Wendell's the peacekeeper.
I actually
through
have a
the
hard
whole
time.
story. He is the one
Yeah.
who just wants everyone to get along.
Uh-huh.
So this is not normal behavior from Wendell.
Because
And
I
the
have a hard
police
time
were-
believing you, not you, the story where she said that he flashed her. I'm thinking that she added that just
Yeah.
for effect, but
just to bring him into the
Right,
story because
right.
it's almost like she's angry with him because he's not taking his side.
right. I mean, it sounds like he's a pretty, you know what? Let's just all get along and
He seemed logical.
right.
Sheila,
He did.
it's not your
yeah.
land.
I mean, I don't know the
move
guy.
on. No, but from the story and from
Mhm.
the research, it was, "Sheila, it's not your land. Let's come on.
Mhm.
Let's all just get along. Let's."
But for him to suddenly be like, "Fuck off! You're not coming on my property," that's that's not a good
That's
sign.
like a big uh-oh.
Yeah.
That's
Uh-oh.
you're giving yourself a little red flag. So the police plan to return the next day with a search warrant. Obviously, they can't just
Well, no.
come.
Oh, all right, sir. No problem. You just won't search your yard. It's fine.
Oh gosh. Sheila's brother and sister decide that they're not going to give up. They're so worried about Sheila. They think something's wrong. So they take it upon themselves to check Wendell's backyard.
Oh.
And
I hear Beast in the
I
background.
know, Canyon, he's so lonely. He wants to come in and see us.
But he's crouched down behind the door.
He's so sad right now because he can't go out in the yard
Oh yeah.
because of all of our renovations. So he can't run in the yard, and he's got his busted up dew claw. And it's been raining. He's just a mess. If you hear him crying at the door, he just wants to come in for the party.
Oh, he's just saying hi.
Yes. So Sheila's brother and sister are now in Wendell's backyard, and they don't have to go very far before they see a foot underneath the snow. Sheila's sister freaks out, backs up. She can't come near it, and then her brother goes forward and brushes back some snow and discovers the naked body of their sister, Sheila Bungie.
Naked?
Naked.
Oh. What happened?
Wendell gets arrested.
Oh,
63-year-old Wendell is arrested for the murder of Sheila Bungie.
Wow, everybody else is going crazy. Meanwhile, the quiet guy snapped.
Yes, pretty much.
What?
So they bring Wendell in. He denies knowing anything, but later confesses. He tells the police that Bungie, Sheila, was a nuisance and that killing her was a snap decision after seeing Sheila out the kitchen window.
Okay.
He saw her snow blowing that morning, and now when she did snow blow, she would wait until everyone, and this is, it's kind of funny. She would wait until I shouldn't feed on this, but she would wait until everyone else did their driveways, and then she would go out and do the private drive and blow all the snow back into people's driveways.
Now that's kind of awesome.
It's shitty but funny.
It's shitty, but it's kind of,
haha, gotcha. Like, that's all the poor lady had.
Crazy lady just
right with her snowblower, like, hey,
yes,
just waiting. So that would just piss all of them off to no end. So he saw her snowblowing that morning, and he probably was thinking she's going to come and blow all that shit back in my driveway.
PTSD, Wendell, PTSD.
Right? This is it. He put down his coffee and he went to his nightstand for his gun. He went through the back. He hid between the trees. He approached Sheila from behind. Sheila never heard a thing between the wind and the snowblower, and it took a single shot with a .22 caliber to the back of the head.
Oh.
I know he was in the Air Force, but I thought he fixed healthcare equipment. That's kind of tactical,
Yeah, that's a little yeah.
right?
I mean, I guess
I,
at least the one thing that I can say is at least he was I don't that
at
just
least she
sounds
didn't know it was coming,
that's what I was
and it
gonna
sounds like
yeah.
it just.
I was trying to say humane, but at the same
It's not
time I
humane,
just
but
can't
she
say
wasn't
that.
tortured.
She
There's no right
wasn't
way, and she did
right.
not deserve to die by any means.
No. Of course not.
But at least she didn't know it was coming. I know that sounds terrible,
Yeah,
but
that's what I was thinking, and then that's why I hesitated because it just sounded wrong.
it sounds
It
bad.
sounds bad.
It sounds
Maybe we
bad.
should cut that.
You edit that out.
Probably not. So
So,
just
just
cut that in
apologize.
your mind.
So he claims that he acted alone and that Rhonda had taken a sleeping pill. She didn't
Mm.
even know what had happened. The jurors watched a video of Wendell documenting his denials and his confession. Wendell does admit to removing Sheila's clothes and throwing them into a burn barrel.
Okay.
Then he placed Sheila's body on a camo-colored game sled that he pushed down the hill of his own yard. She wasn't going far, Wendell. Now, this
No.
is also, I wonder if he snapped and then it was like an oh shit moment. Now what do I do?
Maybe.
Because it wasn't well
And
thought
then he
out.
was like, "Well, I saw that one episode of CSI, so now I gotta burn the clothes."
Where did she think?
Why
Right?
did he
Why
take
did he
her
do
clothes
that?
off? That's weird.
No, her shoes and everything. He took
Yeah.
everything off.
I mean,
And then puts her on a sled and just like, bye bye,
the
Sheila.
evidence is the gun in your home and the.
Well, no, he threw the gun from a bridge. So he
Oh.
threw the gun from a bridge into the half-frozen Grand River. And they were never able to locate the gun. But they did find some buttons from Sheila's clothes in the fire, in the burn barrel. So he's still
Gotcha.
caught.
So he didn't know what to do.
No, he made a really bad decision. So in his interview, he says, I just walked up from behind her, shot her, pushed her snowblower back to her house, got a hunting sled, removed her clothes, and placed them in a burn barrel. She went in backside up. I didn't even cover her up or nothing.
Ooh.
And that's all on video.
So there was no remorse. I mean, only because, right, everything you read, if you're remorseful of something that you've done like this, they usually cover up the body.
His confessions that I watched are not. Yes, you are correct.
Right?
He was obviously
Almost like
very
an, I'm
angry.
sorry, rest in peace.
I can't look at you. So
type
the fact
thing.
that he placed her face down is a little bit, I think, telling because he couldn't look at her.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that he didn't cover her body.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking he had to cover her with snow though, but he doesn't say that he did. He says he just put her on the sled and
pushed her out and thought maybe they'll think somebody else did that.
So there's a taped phone call from jail with Rhonda and Wendell talking. And he tells Rhonda, and I quote, I just wanted to take care of a problem in the neighborhood. That was my thinking. He says that his actions were stupid and spur of the moment, but he doesn't regret what he did to Sheila. He says, and I quote, I'm not really sorry she's gone.
Wow. I mean, he got some peace in jail.
Sheila obviously bothered him more than he led to believe. So Mark and Beth took the stand and told their stories of harassment and by Sheila and spoke kindly of Wendell during his trial. Sheila, and this is the only thing that I can find out about Sheila's fiance, Wayne Homan. He was emotional when he took the stand and he was talking about her. He didn't believe Sheila was mean to any of her neighbors and told them that Sheila was antagonized by them. He says, and I quote, she wasn't like that. They used to rile her up, harassing her all the time. So
I mean, I know they say there's, the black, the white, the gray, three sides to every story, that kind of thing, but
he probably only heard what she said.
I'm sure her whole family probably only heard what she said.
So on October 16th, 2018, the jury took less than 3 hours of deliberation to find Wendell guilty of first-degree murder of 59-year-old Sheila Bungie. In November of 2018, he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. May actually of this year of 2020, he lost his appeal of a lesser charge of manslaughter. So, although Wendell says there's no dispute that he murdered
Mm-hmm.
Sheila, he argued that the jurors should have been allowed to consider a lesser charge of manslaughter. What do you think
Okay.
about that?
Yeah. It sounds like he did snap.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's in the traditional way of like, I caught you cheating and like those people snap and they do something in the spur in like the heat of the moment and then they're let off on a lesser charge because
Right.
they went insane. But
Don't you almost think it's like that story of a maybe like a family where the dad abuses the mom and the son hears like the drawer open where he gets the belt to hit his mom. So nothing actually
mm-hmm,
happens that night, but he hears the drawer open and like snaps and like shoots his mom. Whereas not there was no confrontation that night,
mm-hmm.
but it was the trigger.
Right, like he was worried that something bad was going to happen,
He
so
knew
he
what the
attacks
steps
his
were going to
dad.
be.
And
Yes.
yeah,
So
it could very well be. I mean, that snowblower could have
it
just set
caused a lot
him.
of angst in that.
Apparently, you don't just murder your neighbor for
No.
nothing.
So he wanted to be considered for the lesser charge of manslaughter, but Michigan appeals court disagreed. The court says that Sheila's death was not an instant crime of passion. In fact, there had been no dispute between them that day.
Mm,
So that was their thing. There was no
okay.
fight that day. Where I do see what you're saying, where
Yeah,
I think it was just a trigger.
I think it was too.
I don't think it was well thought out. I look at you shoved her naked down a hill. I
Right.
don't.
Definitely not well thought out. No, it wasn't
No.
pre-planned and that type of
Mm-mm.
thing.
But he did get what he deserved. You can't just, no matter
No.
what somebody does, you can't do that, Wendell. I'm sorry.
But
Some of the
hey, three
things,
squares in prison and probably less.
there's no Sheila
Hey.
bothering you. Hopefully, there isn't some form of a Sheila that's like haunting him, doing similar things.
His cellmate or neighbor. This is what
Just
you
talks
get.
about snowblowers all the time. Um, so, why do you think? Obviously, there's so many stories out there that are similar to this.
Hmm. Oh yeah,
Property disputes
I saw a
ending
few of them
in
when I was looking for my stories. Yeah.
ending in murder or even just scuffles, whatever maybe. I'm curious to see if you can figure out why I picked this story opposed because you know me so well, opposed to some other neighbor property dispute story.
I feel like this should be glaringly obvious, but I'm not sure that it is.
So I'll tell you.
Please tell me.
I found it interesting that through all of my research that although Sheila was murdered, no one really still had anything nice to say about her.
Oh, really?
Really. So let me tell you a couple more things. They were interviewed. Some of the neighbors were interviewed by a local paper, and Andy Gronink, I think is his name. He was able to see both of the houses. He lived across the farm field. And he says, it's sad she got killed, but I feel for the guy who killed her. I wouldn't care if he got nothing because he wouldn't shoot you or me.
Oh, okay.
So there's a lot of like compassion
Mm-hmm. For Wendell.
for Wendell.
Mm-hmm.
And then another, this one just takes the cake. There were so many, and that sounds really terrible. But although Sheila was murdered, no one is
I'm surprised.
right. So we've talked about this before. Like you can
Mm-hmm.
have the nastiest gangbanger
Yeah.
gunned down in the street, and everyone is crying that he had his life together and he was going to get his GED. And I'm not trying to be insulting, but no matter how horrible of a person you are,
Mm-hmm.
normally if you're murdered, it's flipped and you're made in some
Right.
form to sound like a saint
Right.
or at least a better person. Nobody will come out and say that they didn't like
You are
you.
amazing. You lit up the room when
Yes.
you walked in with your smile and
Yes.
those brownies you baked everybody.
Mhm. And she probably made brownies once and was always scowling. But everyone's going to say something nice because this person lost their life and that's what you do.
That is, it
They
seems
didn't
to
do
be,
that for Sheila. I mean, her family did.
that says a lot.
It says a lot, right? So I just
Yeah.
found this very interesting that people were still like, yeah, she was kind of nasty. Like,
Wow.
One more story, and then I'll leave you leave you alone. But this one takes the cake. So, one of the neighbors, Donata Gould, 81 years old.
Okay.
She tells of a recent run-in with Sheila. She says that Sheila drove past her on her daily walk. Sheila lowered her window and unprovoked shouted, "Hey," expletive. I imagine it's like bitch or asshole. I don't know. I mean, it obviously wasn't like, "Hey, beautiful. I hope you fall down and break your hip." Who yells that at an 81-year-old? I mean, even if it was, "Hey, sunshine, I hope you fall down and break your hip," that's like, no matter what you were doing there.
Well, no, that's just awful. Like, I'm picturing my grandma right now going for a walk. And
but Donata doesn't back down. She gives Sheila the middle finger. And guess what Sheila does? Sheila lets go of her steering wheel to give 2 middle fingers. She can't be outdone.
Oh my God.
Like, I hate to laugh at that, but it just says a lot about. And this happened a month before she was murdered. So Donata says, even now it's hard to believe that she did that. That's just the way she was. She flipped people off all the time. So, I mean,
I wonder if she was related to that woman in the McDonald's drive-thru yesterday.
the nasty lady was talking. So I have a couple pictures of Wendell, and we can put these up on our website. So this is Wendell when he's arrested that night. I know, it's really sad. And then this is him. This was him when he was at his sentencing. And then I have one of Sheila, because I know that you.
He reminds me. He looks like this actor, and I can't place him, but he
looks like someone who would play like Santa Claus.
Oh, he does look like he could play Santa Claus.
This is Sheila. But
I kind of want to see the YouTube video now. Even though I know the story and it doesn't end well, it kind of makes me sad. Maybe I should look it up.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there will be no links to the YouTube video on our website.
No.
But I had to see it just out of my own morbid curiosity doing this story. But so Rhonda Clark and her daughter still live there.
Okay.
And so does Mark and Beth.
Wow.
They still reside there today. So I don't know if Sheila's fiance still lives there.
Hey,
I couldn't find
Wendell
that out.
fought for that neighborhood, so maybe they felt like
they had to stay.
Not fought for. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like he gave up his
life,
the rest of his life to create peace. So he thought in his mind. So I think maybe that's probably why they couldn't move. Maybe Well, I don't know about the neighbors, but maybe for Rhonda, she felt, all right, I gotta stay here.
Or maybe she doesn't have any money of her own, and she only has Wendell's house, and she can't afford to move because she was a gold digger. Just kidding.
You like to make up stories.
I do like to make up stories. It's one of my favorite hobbies.
She didn't mean it.
No, I don't mean it at all. But I just like to make up things in my head. Mm-hmm. So that is my story of the murder of Sheila Bungie.
Wow. I would have to say that's up there with those property dispute ones. I hadn't heard of that one.
I thought it was interesting, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Well, until next time, stay safe and be nice to your neighbors. Don't fight with your neighbors.
And don't smack your ass and twerk and yell, because it's going to be on YouTube, and somebody's going to see that.
And no varmint guns for anyone.
No varmint guns. And air horns are acceptable, though. That would be fun. I think we need to get one.
I'm going to gift them for Christmas. Everyone gets an air horn.
Yes.
Oh.
Our neighbors are going to love us.
Bye-bye.
See ya.